Captain Elias Kane stood on the bridge of the small shuttle, staring at the distant asteroid that would soon be his new home. It looked insignificant, a gray lump floating silently in the blackness of space. He could see the faint outline of the old base etched into its surface, a structure built decades ago and long forgotten by most of humanity. Yet it was now his responsibility. He glanced at the small console, feeling a mix of pride and unease. Beside him, his daughter Leela leaned forward, her eyes wide with curiosity. She was 15 but already sharper than many engineers twice her age. Her brown hair floated slightly in the shuttle's artificial gravity, and she pointed at the base's shadowy outline. "Do you think it's really as bad as everyone says?" she asked. Elias sighed. "I don't know, Leela. People are quick to judge when they don't know the whole story, but we'll see soon enough." The shuttle's thrusters fired, sending a small cloud of ice and dust into space as they approached the asteroid. Elias remembered the letter that had changed their lives. It had come from a distant relative, a man he barely remembered. In it, the legal ownership of Nova Sentinel, an abandoned space base, was transferred to him and Leela. At first, Elias had laughed. Who cared about a forgotten base on the edge of human space? But the more he read, the more he realized that someone had intentionally left them something important. He just didn't know what yet. When news spread among their acquaintances, ridicule followed almost instantly. In the colony's main hub, friends and former colleagues whispered behind their backs, "Nova Sentinel, isn't that the old relic no one uses anymore?" One officer had snickered. "Why would anyone want that place?" "It's a death trap waiting to happen," another added, shaking his head. Even Leela's classmates at the academy teased her. "Your dad inherited a junkyard in space. That's hilarious. What are you going to do, dust off some old control panels?" Leela clenched her fists, but she didn't answer. She knew that people often underestimated those who were willing to work hard when others gave up. She looked at her father instead. Elias had seen worse. He had survived battles that most people only read about in history books, and he wasn't about to let a few mocking voices stop him. The shuttle docked with a gentle thud at the base's outer bay. The airlock opened with a hiss, and a faint smell of rust and stale machinery greeted them. The base was smaller than the new stations on the frontier, but it had character. Its corridors were lined with old metal panels, scratched and worn, evidence of years of use. "This place hasn't seen visitors in decades," Elias said as he stepped onto the metal floor. His boots echoed in the empty hallways. Leela's eyes sparkled. "But that's why it's exciting. Look at all this old tech. Who knows what we might find?" They moved carefully through the base, their flashlights cutting through the dim light. Most of the rooms were empty or filled with equipment that no longer worked. Broken consoles, dusty storage units, and stacks of old manuals filled the space. Yet Leela felt a strange energy in the air, a hum she couldn't explain. In the central archive, she discovered a panel that was partially hidden behind a loose metal grate. She pulled it open and gasped. Inside were rows of old data logs, encrypted but not beyond hope. Leela's fingers flew across a portable decoder she carried, and slowly, patterns began to emerge. "Dad, this isn't just an old base," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Look at these logs. Someone was hiding something here. I think it's important." Elias peered over her shoulder. "Encrypted logs, huh? That could mean anything. Old maps, experiments, communications, or secrets." Leela's eyes widened. "I think it's a secret worth finding." As they explored deeper, they came across the base's defensive systems. At first, the control panels were dead, covered in dust and spiderwebs. But when Elias touched one of the main consoles, it flickered to life, as if waking from a long sleep. Red warning lights blinked, then faded. The base seemed to recognize them, or perhaps it had simply been waiting for someone to reactivate it. "This is unusual," Elias muttered. He had worked on some of the most advanced ships in human space, But there was something different about Nova Sentinel. Most old systems don't react this way. Something about this base, it's alive in a way. Leela felt a shiver of excitement. Alive or not, it's ours now, and I want to know what it's hiding. Days passed as they explored. The base's corridors were a labyrinth, with old maintenance tunnels leading to observation decks and storage rooms filled with ancient equipment. Leela found a series of strange markings on the walls, barely visible under layers of dust. They weren't human, at least not entirely. "Do you see these shapes?" she asked. "They don't match any language I know. Could they be alien?" Elias frowned. "Possibly, or just experimental designs. But I've learned to trust your instincts. Let's document them." Despite the base being mostly empty, Elias and Leela began to feel as if they weren't alone. Small sensors started turning on when they approached, doors opened before they touched them, and faint lights flickered in rooms that should have remained dark. The base seemed to respond to them, guiding them deeper into its hidden areas. Meanwhile, back in the human colonies, rumors spread. Those who had mocked Elias and Leela began to whisper again, this time in fear. Some corporate officers sent scouts to check the base, hoping to expose its uselessness. Others simply wanted to steal whatever valuable technology might be hidden inside. One morning, while exploring a particularly old section of the base, Leela found a hidden chamber behind a false wall. The air was cooler here, and the hum of energy was stronger. Inside lay a strange device, unlike anything she had ever seen. It pulsed with light as if breathing. "Dad, this is it. This is what the base has been hiding," she whispered. Elias stepped forward, examining the device carefully. It was sleek, almost organic in design, and covered in a material that seemed to absorb light. "I've seen a lot of tech in my life," he said slowly, "but nothing like this. Whatever it is, it's powerful." Leela placed her hand near it, and the device responded, sending a gentle wave of energy that made the hairs on her arm stand on end. She looked at her father. "I think it's trying to communicate." Elias nodded. "Then we need to understand it before anyone else does. If what I think is true, this base and this device could change everything about human space exploration." As they left the chamber, the base seemed to settle around them, almost like it was approving of their discovery. For the first time, Elias and Leela felt a sense of belonging. They were no longer just the targets of mockery. They were explorers, guardians of a secret that could redefine humanity's place in the stars. That night, as they looked out at the distant planets, Leela whispered, "We were laughed at, Dad. They all thought this base was useless, but they don't know what's waiting for us." Elias placed his hand on her shoulder. "No one can predict what humans can achieve when they refuse to give up, Leela. This base may be old, but we're just getting started." And somewhere deep inside Nova Sentinel, the hum grew louder, as if acknowledging their determination. The adventure had only begun. The next morning, the pale light of the asteroid sun barely touched the edges of Nova Sentinel. Inside, Captain Elias Kane and his daughter Leela moved carefully through the corridors, their footsteps echoing off the metal walls. The base had grown familiar to them over the past few days, yet it still held secrets waiting to be uncovered. Leela carried her portable decoder, scanning the data logs they had found. The encrypted files from the previous day were beginning to make sense. Patterns and symbols repeated themselves, and she noticed strange correlations with the markings she had seen on the walls. "Dad, look at this," she said, pointing at the screen. "The symbols match these energy signatures we found. I think they're connected to the device we discovered." Elias bent over to see, his brow furrowed. If that's true, then this base was built to hide or protect that device. But why, and by whom? Before Leela could answer, a soft vibration ran through the floor. Lights along the corridor flickered, then glowed steadily, guiding them toward the central chamber. The hum from the device grew louder, almost like a heartbeat. Leela stopped, holding her breath. "It's alive," she whispered. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. Or it thinks it is. Either way, we need to be careful. If this is advanced technology, it could be dangerous if handled incorrectly. They entered the central chamber, and the device pulsed with energy. Leela stepped closer, her fingers tracing the air near the pulsing lines. To her astonishment, a projection appeared above the device. Holographic symbols swirled and shifted, forming patterns that seemed almost intelligent. "Hello," said a calm, synthetic voice. Elias and Leela jumped back. The voice came from the device itself. Who are you?" Elias asked cautiously. "I am the Sentinel," the device replied. "I was created to monitor, protect, and guide. Your species has been observed for centuries. Now I am awake." Leela's eyes widened. It knows about humans." "Yes," the Sentinel replied. "Your species has potential even when underestimated. That potential is why I remain. You, Captain Kane, and your daughter Leela have been chosen as my partners." Elias exchanged a glance with Leela. "Partners or test subjects?" he asked. "Neither," the Sentinel answered. "I seek cooperation. Together we can prepare for threats that your colonies may soon face." Leela stepped closer, her voice trembling with excitement. "Threats? What kind of threats?" The device projected a map of nearby star systems. Faint lines and glowing points marked planets, stations, and colonies. Then one point began to glow red. "An unknown fleet approaches," the Sentinel explained. "Your colonies are unprepared. They will be vulnerable unless action is taken." Elias' jaw tightened. "Unknown fleet. How far are they?" "3 weeks travel at high speed. They are aware of your colonies and will act to claim them." Leela took a deep breath. "Dad, we have to warn them. But how? No one has weapons or defenses strong enough to fight an advanced fleet." The Sentinel's energy pulse strengthened. "You have underestimated the value of your species. Human ingenuity, strategy, and adaptability are key. I can provide knowledge and control of Nova Sentinel, but it is your courage and thinking that will turn the tide." Elias nodded slowly. "Then we work together. First, we understand this base and its capabilities. Then we prepare." Over the next several days, Layla and Elias explored deeper into the base. The Sentinel guided them through secret corridors, hidden maintenance tunnels, and storage rooms containing advanced equipment that humanity had never seen before. Some of it resembled human technology but far more advanced: energy shields, automated defense drones, and modular ships capable of rapid deployment. Leela's favorite discovery was the lab. Inside, she found devices that could map energy fields, manipulate matter, and even interface with human neural signals. She spent hours experimenting, carefully documenting everything. "This is incredible," she said one evening. "We could upgrade entire colonies with this tech. Imagine the lives we could save." Elias smiled. "And protect humanity from what's coming, but we need to be careful. The wrong people could misuse this." The Sentinel added, "Trust is essential. Only those willing to act with caution, wisdom, and cooperation can use these systems effectively." Meanwhile, the first warning signals arrived from human colonies. Small scouting ships had detected anomalies in nearby space, but no one knew their origin. Messages came to Elias' old contacts asking for advice. When he responded, the tone was skeptical. "Elias Kane, you're still alive," one officer said, disbelief in her voice. "What are you doing at that abandoned base?" Elias' response was calm but firm. "Preparing for something your sensors haven't yet detected. We need to act before it's too late." Some laughed, some dismissed him, but a few trusted his judgment. Slowly, a small network of allies began to form, ready to follow his guidance. Back at Nova Sentinel, Leela discovered something remarkable. The Sentinel had begun communicating not just through voice and holograms, but through thought-like impulses that she could feel in her mind. It suggested strategies, ways to optimize energy use, and defensive layouts that would have taken her weeks to calculate. "Dad, I think it's learning from us as much as we're learning from it," Leela said. Elias nodded. It adapts. But remember, Leela, the true strength is ours, our ideas, our courage. This machine is a tool. We are the strategists. One evening, they tested one of the base's defense drones. Leela activated the drone and it rose silently into the air, scanning the corridors. The machine moved with precision, anticipating threats before they appeared. "It's incredible," Leela whispered. "It's like it can predict moves before they happen." Elias smiled but remained cautious. "Yes, but we can't rely on it completely. Strategy, human intuition, and teamwork, that's what will win this fight." Days turned into weeks as Layla and Elias prepared the base for the impending threat. They trained, upgraded systems, and sent encrypted warnings to nearby colonies. The Sentinel provided detailed star maps, historical data, and even simulations of potential enemy attacks. Each simulation was more complex than anything humanity had attempted before. One night, as Leela monitored the communications, she noticed a pattern in the enemy fleet's approach. They weren't moving randomly, they were coordinated, analyzing human responses. "Dad, they're smart," she said, her voice tense. "They're learning too." Elias nodded. "Good. Then we'll be ready. Humans adapt faster than anyone thinks. We'll use their predictability against them." Finally, the day came when the first signs of the enemy fleet appeared on the long-range scanners. Tiny blips at first, then hundreds of ships moving in formation, their energy signatures unfamiliar and advanced. Leela's heart raced. "They're here." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. "Stay calm. Remember, we've prepared for this. Nova Sentinel isn't just a base, it's humanity's edge. And we have the advantage of thinking, of choosing our moves. Let's show them what humans can do." The Sentinel pulsed brightly, and the entire base seemed to hum in anticipation. Defense systems activated. Shields rose around the asteroid, and automated drones took positions in the corridors and docking bays. Leela and Elias watched the enemy fleet through the main observation deck, their faces set with determination. They were no longer the subjects of ridicule, no longer the targets of mockery. The old space base, the one everyone called useless, was now the key to humanity's survival. As the first enemy ships entered range, Leela whispered, "We can do this. We will do this." Elias nodded. "Because humans don't give up, we fight, we adapt, we survive, and that's what makes us strong." The hum of Nova Sentinel grew louder, merging with the resolve in their hearts. For the first time, the Kane duo felt the true power of the base and the limitless potential of humanity. The asteroid of Nova Sentinel shivered under the distant light of the sun as alarms echoed through the base. Captain Elias Kane and his daughter Leela stood on the observation deck, their eyes fixed on the blips of the approaching fleet. Hundreds of alien ships, sleek and unknown, moved in silent formation toward human colonies. The time for preparation was over. Leela's fingers danced over the console, sending commands to the defense drones. Each drone sprang to life, deploying into the corridors and docking bays with precise coordination. The energy shields around the asteroid shimmered as the Sentinel integrated all systems seamlessly. "Dad," Leela said, her voice steady despite the tension, "the Sentinel is predicting their first moves. It's giving us the best strategy for defense." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "Good, but remember, strategy is only part of it. We must think, adapt, and trust our instincts. That's what makes us human. That's why we survive." The first wave of enemy ships entered the outer range of the base's sensors. They fired scanning pulses, probing for weaknesses. Leela analyzed the readings instantly. "They think they understand us, but their patterns are predictable. We can use that." Elias nodded. "Then let's make them regret underestimating humans." The base came alive. Automated turrets emerged from hidden panels. Energy shields rose to protect critical points, and drones patrolled the asteroid with silent precision. Yet the most important defense was the humans themselves. Leela coordinated the operations, adjusting defenses and tactics in real time. while Elias led the small human contingent that had joined them from nearby colonies. The first contact was electric. Alien ships fired, and Nova Sentinel responded with a pulse of energy from its central device. The attack disabled several enemy ships instantly, sending debris spinning into space. The humans cheered silently, but the battle had just begun. "This isn't just technology," Leela said, her eyes wide as she watched the Sentinel. "It's like it's thinking with us, predicting their moves, guiding us." "Yes," Elias agreed, "but it's our courage and choices that make it work. The Sentinel amplifies our potential, but we are the ones in control." The alien fleet adjusted, launching a series of attacks aimed at overwhelming the base's defenses. Drones intercepted missiles, energy shields absorbed blasts, and Nova Sentinel's hidden systems activated, producing countermeasures that humans had never seen before. Leela's hands moved swiftly across the console, issuing commands in perfect coordination. "Dad, look," she shouted. "Their formation is breaking. The drones are cutting off their flanks." Elias smiled. "Exactly. Now we push forward. Let's make them understand that humans are not to be underestimated." The battle continued for hours. The enemy fleet adapted, but so did Leela and Elias. The Sentinel provided suggestions, but the humans made the critical decisions: when to retreat, when to strike, and when to exploit openings in the enemy's formation. Slowly but surely, the alien ships began to fall back, unable to counter the combination of human ingenuity and the base's advanced systems. In the middle of the fight, one alien ship broke through the outer defenses and headed straight for the central chamber. Leela gasped, "Dad." "If it reaches the core, the Sentinel could be destroyed." Elias grabbed her hand. "Then we stop it together." They moved through the corridors in a sleek defense vehicle, chasing the ship. Leela coordinated with the Sentinel to deploy drones in precise positions, while Elias maneuvered expertly through the narrow passages. At the final moment, they activated an energy net, capturing the ship and neutralizing its threat without destroying it. "That was close," Leela breathed, her heart racing. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "Yes, but that's what humans do. We adapt, we survive, and we protect what matters." As the hours passed, the enemy fleet began to retreat. Their formations scattered, energy readings dropped, and soon the last of the ships disappeared into the void. Humanity had won, not with brute force alone, but with intelligence, courage, and teamwork. Leela sank into a chair, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it. We actually did it." Elias looked at the observation deck, scanning the stars where the battle had raged. "Yes, we did. And it wasn't just us. It was every human who believed in ingenuity, courage, and the will to survive. That's why we won." Word of their victory spread quickly through human colonies. Those who had mocked them now sent messages of admiration and respect. Scientists and engineers visited Nova Sentinel to study the advanced technology. Military officers asked for Elias and Leela's guidance in training new forces. The Kane duo, once laughed at for inheriting an old, useless base, had become symbols of human resilience and ingenuity. Leela spent days cataloging the base's systems and documenting the battle's lessons. She marveled at how humans, when underestimated, could accomplish extraordinary feats. "Dad," she said one evening, looking at the central device, "people mocked us for being at an old space base. But this base, it showed them what humans are capable of. Not the machines, not the technology, it's us. Humans, our minds, our courage." Elias nodded, proud. "Exactly. The machines help, but they don't replace human thinking. That's why we are strong. That's why we survive." The Sentinel pulsed in agreement, its energy glowing warmly. "Your species exceeded all expectations. Cooperation, courage, and ingenuity are your strengths. This asteroid, once forgotten, is now a beacon of human potential." As weeks turned into months, Nova Sentinel became a training hub for human colonies. Leela developed strategies and simulations based on the Sentinel's capabilities, preparing humanity for future challenges. Elias worked with colonists to integrate advanced defense systems, always emphasizing the importance of human judgment and courage. Despite their fame and recognition, both father and daughter remained humble. They knew the real victory was not just defeating an alien fleet. It was proving that humans could rise above doubt, fear, and mockery to accomplish great things. One day, as Leela walked along the observation deck, she saw a new projection from the Sentinel. It displayed other star systems, unexplored and mysterious. "Dad," she said, excitement lighting her face, "the Sentinel is showing us more. There's so much out there to explore, to protect, and to learn. We've only just begun." Elias smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Then we'll go together. Humanity's journey is far from over, and Nova Sentinel will guide us. But remember, Layla, the real strength is in us. The courage to face the unknown, the willingness to think, and the determination to protect what matters." As they looked out into the vastness of space, the base hummed with life. Once mocked, now celebrated, Nova Sentinel stood as a symbol of human ingenuity, courage, and hope. And the Kane duo knew that wherever the stars led them next, humans would always rise, adapt, and prevail. The Sentinel pulsed one final time that evening, as if acknowledging the humans who had unlocked its potential. Humanity's story had taken a new turn, one where curiosity, intelligence, and bravery proved stronger than mockery, doubt, and fear. And for Elias and Leela Kane, the adventure was only beginning. In the silence of space, Nova Sentinel shone as a beacon, not just of technology, but of the indomitable human spirit. Soldier and daughter mocked for inheriting old space base until they find this end. Sci-fi story.